Hi, my name is Lucas, today showing you the very eye cage system for the Panasonic GH5. Well, it's not only for the GH5, as you can see here, it's also for the GH4 and sure as hell will also fit for the upcoming GH5s. So when we look at this very eye cage, the first thing that comes to our attention probably is the loupe, and I love it and we'll talk about it in a minute. For now, let's have a look at the basic cage. So this cage is nearly completely made out of aluminum, which is pretty neat and pretty common. Also very common is to have threads all over it. So we have on the side, on the top and also underneath. It's 1/4 inch threads and also a few 3/8 inch threads. Also around the locking screw underneath we have a 1/4 inch and a 3/8 thread. This is both, and this is pretty cool when you have a tripod which is a bit longer, the plate is a bit longer. You can fix it with 2 screws so you don't have like the twisting around of the camera. Talking about the twisting, this part here where the camera sits, also this little part here on the top, are not made of aluminum. Basically everywhere where the camera touches the cage, also in this corner here as you can see, this is also not aluminum. This is some sort of, I don't want to call it plastic, I think it's Delrin or something, I have no idea what it is exactly is, but it is of course not metal, so it's a bit nicer to your camera body. So when we want to get our camera in here, we have to remove this part and get it in here. You don't want to screw it very tight yet, because we have to talk about this little piece here. And you can see we have a pretty big cutout on the cage on the top. With this cutout in place, we can use the XLR attachment for the GH5 without any problems with this cage, which is pretty neat. So we have enough space to really use the XLR attachment if you have it. I don't have it, so I can use this plastic part here. Basically, this part here goes into our hot shoe mount and then we screw it tight. So basically I push it in here and then I will screw this tight here. The thing is, when you screw this screw on the bottom tight before, it can be a hassle to get this thing in place, so I like to do it in this two-step behavior. And now our camera is really locked into this cage, so we have the connection down here on top, so it won't come out, it won't twist, and this is a really solid connection. With this cage attached, we can reach nearly everything that the camera offers. So of course on the left side we have everything as we want it. We can get to every connector and every thread. This is pretty common. On the left side we have the remote door, and here we have this big gap, so we can really get into our remote if we want to. Of course we can open the SD card door, of course we can open the battery door, this is no issue at all. So on top we have this long hole here and this normal one here. These have no threads, and these are only there so you can still see what you have set up on your camera. So you can see if you're in manual film mode or if you're on M, on P, on S, or whatever. We can also effortlessly reach all the buttons here. We can, of course, the shutter release, the wheels, everything is still accessible. Even this, I have no idea what they called. The thing where you attach your strap on. Even those can be reached without any problems, even within this cage, which is pretty cool. Earlier I said that you can reach nearly everything. The only thing that you can reach, at least on the GH5, is this thing here. This is, I think, the connection for the flash, for an external flash. As another photographer, I don't care too much for that. The only issue I could see is that when you get the new GH5s, this is also the place where you get the timecode from. So you can, the GH5s have the function to connect it to a timecode generator or generate the timecode itself. And then it could likely be an issue to connect anything here. So this could be the only downside. If you don't care for timecode, of course, this is not a problem. So I guess this leads us to the loupe. And a bit of an intro, I really love EVFs. You know, EVFs, I love them. It's great to work with them. The problem is they're either really expensive or they're utter crap. So this usually leaves us with these kind of loupes. And I think in this day and age, they are not just used as much anymore. And actually, one of my first YouTube videos on my channel here was a display loupe for the Panasonic GH2. And I really like this because it had this neoprene guard thingy with which you attached it to your screen. It was not done with magnets like in the past, it was with some sort of sleeve. And the thing is, I like this loupe and I actually still have it, but I never used it that much on productions. I used it less and less and then never again, because I also always feared about damaging the camera, because when you have your loupe on here, it's a safety concern, because it's easy to break your screen, to harm your camera. And this is not a good feeling when you're out there. And as you can see, we have this piece here which attaches directly to our cage, and this takes all of my concerns regarding that. We'll talk about this in a second. So one of the first things you can notice is it's closed. So because we have a little switch on top here, and we can open and close it. And this is great for transportation because it's really helpful so we don't harm the lens inside. Speaking of the lens, I hope you can see this. There's a diopter in here, so you can fit this to your eyes, which is also, I think, a really great feature, which was in the past only with the really expensive display loupes. Then, as you can already see, we can open it. And we have a little switch here. I think it is meant that you push this down and then you lift it up. But the spring that is in here is very weak. And this is a good thing, because you can simply grab it and apply the tiniest bit of force to pull it up. And still it's locked, you know? It's locked when it's here. But when you use a tiny bit of force, you can open it up. And this is great because it's more ease on your work. So we have the direct view on our display. Also, the screws here are strong enough so it will stay in most positions. I think on the end it won't, but here it's no issue. It's really well manufactured. And then we have the eyepiece. And an issue for me is my eyes are bad in a way that there's no diopter on Earth which could fix this. So I always have to like set it into the neutral position and wear glasses when looking through viewfinders. But the cool thing is this thing is so big, it's no issue whatsoever with glasses on. And there's another thing, we can remove this eyepiece and mount it the opposite way. So we can also build the rig a bit differently. And it's also easier to clean it this way. And this is really thought through. I think you already noticed it. It's really well designed and really well done. So to mount this loupe on our camera, we just have to flip out the display. And then we have this rail which fits into the hole on the side here. We have to make sure that this silver screw here is far enough out so we can push it in here. And then we have to, I think it's self-explanatory what you have to do here. On the side here we have a screw that we can loosen so we can adjust the display. Of course the display itself isn't strong enough to hold all the weight from this from this loupe, so it makes sense to get it into position, screw it tight, and then maybe even adjust it like this. It's a really safe connection, and this is really cool because you have like these two angles. You have one time on your camera and one time here. So, and this is a really sturdy unit now. So all my doubts with the safety are really erased because of this little angle that we have here, which is pretty cool. And if we want to remove it, it's really fast. We just lose the screw and get it away. It's easy as that. Quite easy and quite fast. Pretty neat. To get this out of the way, of course, when this thing is in place, this is a bit thicker on our display. So because of this cage thing, it's a bit thicker, so we cannot get this open. And of course, you have a little less way that you can twist this EVF when you have an HDMI connection or a USB connection. But this is always the case when your display is out. When your display is flipped out, you always have the issue that you cannot move it that much. It's pretty obvious. Of course, it's a bit less with the cage on, but not by a mile. This is still one thing we have to keep in mind. Also, when we have it like this and we are on a tripod or somewhere else and we open this up, we still have a nice sun hood around our display. And there's one last thing we have to talk about, and this is the grip, which goes on the side of our cage. And then we can get it in here. Again, this is easier when you don't have to film yourself, as always. And here we have two screws. We have the large thumb screw on the outside, the plastic one, with which you can like screw it tight. And then we have the silver one in here. And when you want a really tight connection, you have to lock this really tough. One issue is, for me, that you cannot reach this with a screwdriver, or I have this little multi-tool on my keyring. You have to use a coin. I think many people use coins. I don't like to use coins that much. And with this you can really screw it tight. So we have it tight now. So obviously now this is still twisted, but we can just move the grip around because there's only one screw. It's not a rock tight connection, and this is, I think, a really good feature. to be perfectly honest with you, I wouldn't use any sort of grip or hand strap if I only wanted to have a tight connection, because I would simply use my hands. My hands are strong enough to hold the camera like this. This grip is more interesting if you have angles that where you need that your cage or this grip follows your hand, your movement. For example, if you really need some sort of low shooting, you can look through your EVF and your hand can easily follow the cage. It doesn't need to be stuck in a certain position. This is more apparent. You get your hands way up in the air, you know, like this, and then if you would have it to hold it like this, you know how uncomfortable it is to hold a camera like this when you raise it up high. So then it's really nice to just have this grip to follow you. It's much nicer to hold it this way. And this is a great thing. And this one is really well built. You see, you have this metal part here. It's not metal again. It's this sort of plastic thing, Delrin. I have no idea again. Basically, this is this sort of plastic stuff, and it's really, really strong. And this is great because it goes onto your palm here and gives a bit additional support. So this is good, you know, it's really well manufactured. It's made of, the initial body is made of aluminum obviously, and it's pretty thick as you can see. And then you have this really comfortable patch here, and yeah, you can also of course make it, can get it tighter, so it's like for smaller hands. I have big hands as mentioned before, so this is not really an issue for me. One thing I saw online is to use this grip on top of the cage. And because of this twist motion, I would say I would not maybe use it like this. I think you can do it in some situations, and if you screw it really tight, maybe I'm too weak, you know, maybe I'm too weak and I cannot screw it tight enough. Then you could use it, but I would recommend using something else, some grip that you can really screw tight, like with a nether rail or something. Still, this grip is awesome as a side handle, and this is what I would use it for. And one thing I also want to talk about is the packaging. You can see this box looks, yeah, not exciting. Let's call it like this. It's not really exciting, and we have, this is only pushed onto it. It chips in this really, yeah, uninteresting box. But one thing I have to show you is, look inside. I rarely have packages that are fitted that well. Furthermore, the loupe was packed within this very nice bag or pouch. It's some sort of, I have no idea what material it is. I think this is some sort of fake leather. It's not real leather, but I think it's some sort of fake leather. I think you could even, maybe you could use it for cleaning your windows. I have no idea. Another thing that I found funny is usually when I see these cages, when I see this technology, I always assume they come from China. But this cage doesn't come from China. It comes from Europe. Actually, it's a neighbor country. It's from the Netherlands. So the very eye comes from the Netherlands. So the package delivery to me was very, very fast. It was here in a few days. And I love the Netherlands. I was there a few times in my life, and I love the Netherlands. I love the food. I love the people. It's great there. So if you plan to visit Europe, don't visit Germany, visit the Netherlands. It's better. I trust me on that one. I always talk about this plastic stuff. This knob is also made from this plastic stuff, and the cage, the initial cage for the display is also made from this material. So again, even your display has no contact with aluminum, only with this plastic stuff. Which is good, I think, because it's not as prone to scratches as you would have with an aluminum. So let's wrap this up. I really like this cage. I like the functionality. It's well built. It's well thought through. You don't see this often, that it's so well thought through. The only tiny thing that you could argue is like this port up here. I don't care too much, to be honest. Yeah, and that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. I see you next time, and now I will continue playing with this a bit. Bye.